Hey class, welcome to lesson 9.7, Graph and Analyze Relationship. Let's begin by taking a look at our essential question. How can you write and graph ordered pairs on a coordinate grid using two numerical patterns? All right, let's take a look at our word problem. Sasha is making hot cocoa for a party. For each mug of cocoa, she uses 3 tablespoons of cocoa mix and 6 fluid ounces of hot water. If Sasha uses an entire 18 tablespoon container of cocoa mix, how many fluid ounces of water will he use? Well, let's look. How many tablespoons of cocoa mix does Sasha add for each mug of cocoa? So let's look back over here at our word problem. For each mug of cocoa, he uses 3 tablespoons of cocoa mix. So the answer to that question is going to be 3 tablespoons. And remember, TBS is our abbreviation for tablespoons. What else do we need to know? How many fluid ounces of water does Sasha add for each mug of cocoa? Well, let's look back over at our word problem. So he uses 3 tablespoons of cocoa mix and 6 fluid ounces of hot water. So the answer to that would be 6 ounces. And remember, our abbreviation for ounces is OZ. So we're going to use the 2 given rules in the problem to generate the first 4 terms for the number of tablespoons of cocoa mix and the number of fluid ounces of water. So for 1 cup of cocoa, he uses 3 tablespoons of cocoa mix. For 1 mug of cocoa, he uses 6 fluid ounces of water. So then for 2 cups, following the rule, we would need 6 tablespoons of cocoa mix, and 6 times 2 would be 12 ounces of water. For 3 mugs of cocoa, we would need 3 times 3 would be 9 tablespoons of cocoa mix, and 6 times 3 would be 18 ounces of water. For 4 mugs of cocoa, we would need 3 times 4 would be 12 tablespoons of cocoa mix, and 6 times 4 would be 24 ounces of water. For 5 mugs of cocoa, we would need 3 times 5 would be he would need 15 tablespoons of cocoa mix, and 6 times 5 would be 30 fluid ounces of hot water. Now for 6 mugs, continuing the pattern, we would need 3 times 6 would be 18 tablespoons of cocoa mix, and 6 times 6 would be 36 fluid ounces of water. So let's look back at our word problem and look at the question we need to answer. If Sasha uses an entire 18 tablespoon container of cocoa mix, how many fluid ounces of water will he use? Now, let's take a look at step 2. It says to write the number pairs as ordered pairs, relating the number of tablespoons of cocoa mix to the number of fluid ounces of water. So we're going to compare our cocoa mix to our fluid ounces of water. So where they meet up, that is the numbered pair that we would be using. So as you can see, our first one is done for you. It's 3 tablespoons of cocoa mix to 6 fluid ounces of water. So for our next one, it would be 6 tablespoons of water, or 6 tablespoons of cocoa mix to 12 fluid ounces of water. That would be our next numbered pair. Then our next one would be for making 3 mugs of cocoa mix. So we would use 9 tablespoons of cocoa mix to 18 fluid ounces of water. So our next numbered pair would be 9 and 18. Our next numbered pair if we want to continue, would be for 4 mugs of cocoa mix. So we would use 12 tablespoons of cocoa mix to 24 fluid ounces of water. Now we can keep going for 5 and 6 mugs of cocoa mix. So for 5 mugs of cocoa mix, it would be 15 tablespoons of cocoa mix to 30 fluid ounces of water. For 6 mugs of hot cocoa, it would be 18 tablespoons of cocoa mix to 36 fluid ounces of water. Now our next step says to graph and label the ordered pairs. Then write a rule to describe how the number pairs are related. So the first thing is to graph our ordered pairs. So before we get started graphing on our coordinate grid, let's remember that the first number in an ordered pair always represents our x-axis. Our second number in an ordered pair always represents our y-axis, and our x-axis is the one that runs horizontal, and the y-axis is the one that runs vertical. So as we do this, we look at 3 and 6, and we know that 3 represents our x-axis, so we'll come over to 3, and our second number is 6, which represents our y-axis. So we're going to come up till we find 6, and that's where we're going to place our first point. And mine may be a little bit difficult. And then to label it, it would be 3 and 6. Now, our second ordered pair is 6 and 12. So we're going to come over to 6 on our x-axis and go up to 12 on our y-axis, and that's where we would place our next point. So our next point is going to go 6 and 12, and like I said, mine are not precise because it's a little difficult to get it. Let's go ahead and label that, and that's going to be 6 and 12. Now our next one is going to be 9 and 18, so we're going to come over 9 on the x-axis and up to 18, and we're going to place our dot there, and we will label that 9 and 18. And we're going to go ahead and finish graphing these on our coordinate grid, so go ahead and do 12 and 24, 15 and 30, and 18 and 36, and be sure to label each one as you go. Now that we have all of our ordered pairs graphed on the coordinate grid, we can draw our line to show how they are all related. Now let's take a look at step 3. Again, it says, what rule can you write that relates the amount of cocoa mix to water? Well, if we look at them, we look at 3 and 6, and we know that 3 is half of 6. So therefore, if we multiply or double 3 times 3 plus 3, we know we get 6. Or we can do 3 times 2, and that gives us 6. If we look at 6 and 12, we know that 6 is half of 12. Therefore, 6 times 2 equals 12. If we look at 9 and 18, we know that 9 is half of 18. So therefore, 9 times 2 is 18. Therefore, our rule is to multiply the number of tablespoons of cocoa mix by 2. So Sasha will use 36 fluid ounces of water if he uses the entire container of cocoa mix. So then it says to write the final number pair as an ordered pair, then graph and label it. Starting at the origin, connect the points with straight line segments. What do the connected points form? Explain why this is formed. Well, we've already done the first part of it, so we're going to answer the question that says, what do the connected points form? and explain why this is formed. Well, the connected points form a line that increases by the same amount because the y-coordinate is always 2 times the x-coordinate. Now let's take a look at another example. It says, John is customizing an audio sound system. He needs to buy 3.5 feet of cable wire, but it is sold in inches. He knows there are 12 inches in 1 foot. How many inches of wire will he need? So 1 feet equals 12 inches. 2 feet equals, and we're increasing by 12, so we know that 12 times 2 is 24 inches. 12 times 3 would be 36 inches, and 12 times 4 would be 48 inches. So we're going to multiply the ordered pair, or multiply the number of feet by 12, because there are 12 inches in 1 foot. So we're going to write the number pairs as ordered pairs relating the number of feet to the number of inches. So for 1 foot, there are 12 inches. For 2 feet, there are 24 inches. For 3 feet, there are 36 inches. And for 4 feet, there are 48 inches. And we are getting those by comparing 1 foot to 12 inches, 2 feet to 24 inches, 3 feet to 36 inches, and 4 feet to 48 inches. So the next step is to graph the ordered pairs. Connect the points from the origin with straight line segments. So let's do that. Let's graph 1 and 12, 2 and 24, 3 and 36, and 4 and 48. And remember, the first number always represents the x-axis, which is the one that runs horizontally, and the second number represents the y-axis, which is the one that runs vertically. So go ahead and graph those on your coordinate grid. Now your coordinate grid should look very similar to the one that I have graphed here. So next we're going to use the graph to find the number of inches in 3.5 feet. Now think to yourself, 3.5 is between the whole numbers, well, that would be between 3 and 4. So locate 3.5 on the axis. So 3.5 would be right here on our x-axis. Now it says to draw a vertical line from 3.5 on the x-axis to the line that connects the ordered pairs. Well, we're going to take that and we're going to draw from 3.5 up to where we connect with the y-axis. So if we draw it straight up, we see that we're going to connect right here. So it says to find how many inches equals 3.5 feet, draw a horizontal line from that point to the y-axis. What is the ordered pair for the coordinate? So now let's take our vertical line and we're going to draw it straight over to where we can see what two numbers actually meet. So the ordered pair would be the 3.5 on the x-axis that meets with the 42 inches on the y-axis. So our ordered pair would be 3.5 and 42 inches. So John needs to buy 42 inches of cable wire. Let's take a look at our password for tonight's lesson. It says, a baseball manufacturer ships 20 baseballs in one case. If 8 cases are needed for a tournament, how many baseballs are needed in all? Would that be 28? Would that be 40? Would that be 140? Or would that be 160? So be sure to record your answer in your math journal and bring it with you to class tomorrow. See you then.